Rotogrinders, flagship show, Grinderslive. Y'all joining us at 4:45-ish on the East Coast. Ready to talk tonight's 7-game NBA DFS slate. I'm your host, Dean. That's Dean 78904. That is the daily fantasy handle around the industry. Andre, fresh back from a vacation. You got the trade deadline that went down today. Of course, but we could talk about that throughout the show. We want to hit the slate and how a lot of it is relevant to the slate too, because Washington traded away a bunch of dudes and they're going to be really, really popular. And we had that pre-show conversation as far as the Wizards. Cunningham just got downgraded to doubtful as well too. But all people want to talk about, Andre, hopefully things are good in your world. How are things? And the Harden deal, the Harden for Simmons, of course, there's other pieces involved, but do you have a thought on that or anything trade deadline wise?
Oh yeah, definitely. First of all, I'm glad to be back. Ready to go. Hopefully, let's take down some tournaments and win some money. I love the move. I think both teams got better, but I think the ultimate winner was Brooklyn. Like everyone forgets that they getting out. I was talking to Carlos earlier today. I said it's like the Warriors 2.0 in a way, not the same system, but just what they can do. They can switch everything. They can play Simmons at the 5 or at the 4, KD at the 5 or the 4, and pretty much any position on the court. And they traded only James Harden and Paul Millsap and got a lot more than I expected them to get. I was expecting Philly to give up 2 first-round picks. That was amazing. But then also getting Seth Curry in the deal, which is big, really big, especially because they already have Patty Mills, and they still got Joe Harris. So like that's just amazing to begin with. They just made them, to me, the odds-on favorite to win, and then they also got a big body in Drummond, which will be beneficial for down the road when they have to play a team out in the West, potentially in the finals, or when they have to play in Milwaukee or have to play against Philadelphia and go against Joel Embiid. So to me, I think they ultimately won the trade for now and the future. Harden's 32, Ben Simmons is 25. He's only going to get, he's not even in his prime yet. It's going to be great to see what happens with this team in the future. Brooklyn, I think, is set up for the long term and now to win.
I threw a poll up on Twitter and I was curious what people thought. And 41% said Brooklyn won, 25% said Philly won, and then 25% that said that both teams won, which I think, considering the predicaments of both ends, like, Daryl Morey, he did the best he could with Philadelphia with Ben Simmons. It seemed like it was a bit of a standoff. And considering their situation, I thought they did well too. Like they both, it's okay for both teams to do well in a trade. Like in theory, that's how it's supposed to go. And I think the rest of the East lost. How about that? Like it hurts that our Miami Heat
we
took a hit today.
We took a hit, but I think we're still good. Like if Victor Oladipo comes back and he's the old Victor, then it's gonna be. Then everyone's gonna have to watch out for Miami because we can switch everything too, and PJ Tucker will be on Kevin Durant the whole game.
Oladipo was like the worst player in basketball last time we saw him. Like I know he was good once upon a time, but I mean, look, I'm not rooting against him. I just think that like Max Strus and Gabe Vincent are better than Oladipo. No, I hope you're right, but I'm not optimistic.
I'm optimistic that we're going to get the OKC Victor Oladipo before he got hurt.
All right, fair enough. Justin, do you have a thought on that? Obviously, we'll talk what the trades that are relevant to the slate. We're going to break down the slate game by game in just a second. What up, YouTube? Do hit that like button. Do subscribe. Do turn on notifications. Whatever questions we don't cover, whatever topics we don't cover, whatever you want us to dive in further. If you're thinking you're making a lineup right now on FanDuel or DraftKings or whatever you're playing on Yahoo, 2v2, ask us. We'll do our best to knock that out. Of course, give us the details. Producer Steve is going to be pulling those questions from our Discord channel, rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Just make sure you throw them in there. Join the conversation. What up, everybody there hanging out? Producer Steve's going to pull them. And again, the more details, the better. And we'll answer those questions. End of the show. Justin, if you have any thoughts as far as that trade, by all means, go for it. Or anything else trade deadline wise, a lot of stuff out there, obviously can't delve into all of it. We want to talk about the slate, which we'll do in a second. But what do you have for us?
Man, I could take a hint. You asked me if I had any thoughts, and you cut to a commercial break. So, but
the plight to being a host. You host sometimes. You know how that
I know.
goes.
I you know what? I ramble and I go sometimes too. I totally get it. Just busting your chops. So I think both teams did win. Different circumstances. There's a very strong possibility that Ben Simmons was never going to play as a 76er. Like I'm in the 99th percentile of like confidence level that was never going to happen. And there probably was some strong feelings that Harden might walk after the season. So the days of trading with your divisional rival are long gone. We've seen it in baseball. We're seeing it across all sports now. It was like the unwritten rule. Oh, the Braves will never trade with the Phillies, etc. Like that'll never happen. Who knows how long Embiid's healthy window really is. He keeps getting better every season. It's amazing, but I hold my breath every time he hits the floor. Like, this is still Joel Embiid. I respect Daryl Morey for going all in, or whatever you want to call it, to get Embiid as much help as he can get. We haven't seen a ball handler with the scoring ability in Philadelphia since Allen Iverson, honestly. I mean, so it should be fun. Nonetheless, it's going to be fun. There's going to be drama. There's going to be headlines. That's like the worst case scenario here. I'm still waiting for like the Bellinelli or Ilyasova old man deals to come in, because they got to thicken up that bench in Philly for sure.
Where is your son Ilyasova? He's retired, I assume?
I don't know. We'll take him. Can we get a vet min deal in Philly? I don't know. But for Brooklyn, at the same time, if Ben Simmons decides to play and put on a jersey, he has the ceiling of a top 5 NBA player, and that's coming from a Sixers fan. How long can you wait with Joel Embiid for his Batman? You got Superman. When's Batman going to come in? Even if Ben Simmons has peaked, he comes into Brooklyn as being a top 5 perimeter defender. He'll immediately help. You still have all the scoring in the world with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving for away games, at least for now. So there's a lot of moving parts there with Brooklyn. You're waiting on Joe Harris to come back, which is cool for them too. But there's a lot of personality in that locker room to manage. And can, rookie head coach Steve Nash managing these alpha ego personalities? It hasn't been going great so far, but the Nets have been treading water, and they've dealt with a ton of injuries, and they're right there, and they're the Vegas favorites to still win. So I think, if Simmons comes back and can at least play defense and distribute, and Durant comes back and he's healthy, the Nets are still elite title contenders here. The Sixers definitely moved up a couple notches on the board, but really, I think it's, 1A, 1B here. And I do think Milwaukee has the best value, and I think could still beat both of these teams in a 7-game series, honestly. And that's coming from a Sixers fan. I still think Milwaukee is the team to beat right now, although it's very close. We're talking like all those 3 teams are probably globbed together right now. The Sixers are the big losers because we still have stinking Danny Green, and he's worthless. So there's the real analysis there. Man, why couldn't we just ship him off to Brooklyn too? Unbelievable.
I think the fans are the big winner too. Like we might possibly see Philadelphia versus Brooklyn in round 2. Like that's something we can see, which will be a lot of fun, obviously. All right, tonight's slate. This is Daily Fantasy Sports. We care about tonight and tonight only. Just a little quick overview as far as the slate. I just think it's worth noting. I ran a bunch of optimals on FanDuel. I ran a bunch of optimals on DK, and on FanDuel you can only have 4, of one, 4 guys on the same team, and it's 4 Wizards and 2 studs, and then some other guys sprinkling in. And on DraftKings, it's 4 to 5 Wizards and 2 studs. And we were talking about this pre-show, Andre, about Washington, and it's a 7-game slate, but just kind of the overview, it's really straightforward, like what the math is telling us to do. Washington does have 11 guys. Of course, they're without, Daniel Gafford's out for the health and safety protocols. Dinwiddie was traded. Montrezl Harrell was traded. Davis Bertans, props to them for dumping that contract. He was traded. Beal's done for the season. Aaron Holiday was traded. So they do have 11 guys, but like 4 of them, you don't know who they really are and how much run they may or may not get. But yeah, and they also have a couple of fragile guys like Rui Hachimura, who they haven't been pushing. Thomas Bryant, both guys coming back from injury, they haven't been pushing. They seem to be what you do with the Wizards really predicates, the rest of your lineups and like in relation to the field. Do you have a thought as far as the general slate overview? Because again, it's the Wizards and a couple studs is what like the optimals want us to do.
Yeah, I don't like just from looking at this earlier today. I don't know how many Wizards are going to play. I get it. They have a lot of value tonight, and they're going against Brooklyn. It's probably going to be the fastest game next to Milwaukee on the slate, in my opinion. But I just don't know how many I'm going to really have. Like I could say 2, maybe 3 the most. I know I said 2 before, but 3 probably is the most I could see myself going with in a single lineup. I just love the way these other teams are set up, and to me, like, we got to worry about a lot of these guys with the playing time and the minutes, like Thomas Bryant, for instance, we're going to touch on, who to me, him, like, he's been to the most minutes he's played is 22. I said pre-show, and he still hasn't shown nothing really in that matchup. I know it was against, and that matchup was against Miami when he played last game. He played 22 minutes, but it was a tough defensive matchup. So maybe he can have a good game against Brooklyn, but I just don't see how well he can do in this spot with the minutes. That's what concerns me the most. And 4K is a nice price to pay for him. Too. So I'll have a little of him. I'm not going to be overexposed to him. I kind of like another guy like Kelly Olynyk in another in the same price point, just to get a little bit from a different game perspective, but same position, a little bit cheaper too. So I think probably 3 is a good number to be at. 2 probably is the best number in my opinion. Just because I don't want to get too much exposure to these guys, but the best one is probably going to be a guy that we're going to bring up, Kyle Kuzma, who I think is a fantastic play today.
Yeah. We'll talk about that game in a second. And just kind of worth noting, I cap my optimals. I run like 150 or so, and I cap them at like 70%, and all of them hitting the threshold on DK, KCP, Kuzma, Howell Neto, Avdi at 49%, Kisper at 57% or so. And on FanDuel, Kuzma, Avdia, KCP, and Neto, all 4 of them hit my threshold, which is just wild. Thomas Bryant at 21%, Kispert at 18%. Different on FanDuel, obviously, just kind of the way the build goes. Do you have a thought on that, Justin? And anything you want to add, by all means, go for it. We'll talk about the Wizards a little bit more in depth, obviously. Or you can say, hey, let's talk about Memphis, Detroit, whichever your preference happens to be, like a Slate overview thought, or we just dive on it.
Yeah, I think 3 Wizards sounds about right. I'm playing some 3 Max and DK personally. I'm probably going to mix and match that exposure. Most of these plays are so cheap that you don't need to force a run back. We'll get there because I think you mentioned Patty Mills. Someone mentioned Patty Mills at some point, but so you can run some game stacks here. Washington still has a very healthy team total despite losing like a bunch of firepower. I think it's like 108 and change or something like that. I think this is a great game environment. The ownership's definitely warranted. There's going to be mega minutes. Dre alluded to it. The interesting dynamic here is Rui and Thomas Bryant kind of slightly working their way back here. I think it is worth noting that Rui played his most minutes of the season, his last game out there. So maybe I don't know if they called anybody up or anything, or if they need to, but if they haven't, clearly they're comfortable with the personnel they have for tonight. We'll see. Let's see what happens with that. I did not expect the Dinwiddie for Porzingis trade. That was, I don't know. Does Porzingis move the needle for Bradley Beal to stay there? Like, if I'm Bradley Beal, like, cool, we're getting Porzingis. I mean, he couldn't even help Doncic. Like, get Lucas some help, Mark Cuban. Like, come on, man. So, I think 3 is a good number for Wizard stuff, and it's just, Nito, Raul, Howell. I think it's Howell actually. Former Sixer, by the way.
Former Jazz.
Former Jazz. Is there more? Do we have any more?
Somewhere, probably. Toronto? I think he played for Toronto as well.
Good trivia question. The career path of Mr. Nito. But he's my favorite play net. I'm probably going to play him in all 3 of my teams and just eat the ownership.
Yeah, and it's a kind of a different conversation to have as well. Like, we don't really focus on it enough, but like game selection, you're talking the 3 entry max as opposed to like some of the contests that have like 20 or 30,000 or 40,000 entries. And then you could be a little bit more ambitious. And 3 entry max, like, just ownership just kind of condenses in the chalk. Yeah. You don't have to be as different, right? Well, what is, how many people are in the 3 entry max contest?
Like 300s or 2 something, 3 something. But you're absolutely right. Then you're playing large field stuff, and we're playing the range of outcomes game. It's extremely hard for someone that cheap to bust with 25, 30 minutes, but he sprains his ankle and you get leverage on 2/3 of the field kind of thing. And, with the rake so high and the payout so top heavy, you're exactly right there. Contest selection is huge. 2 out of 3 nights, 5 out of 6 days a week anymore. How many days are in the week? 6, 7, whatever it is. I feel like we're having this news or injuries where we're cramming in 3 to 4 guys on the same team that are popping with optimals. And the deadline week is always the toughest. So you know what you're signing up for if you're playing DFS during trade deadline week. That's for sure.
First game on the slate, Memphis is at Detroit. Only 1 game at 7:00 tonight. 224.5 is a total. Detroit is a pretty heavy dog here, 11.5 points. Memphis pretty healthy with the exception of Dylan Brooks. Some other guys like Tillman and Tilly that don't matter a ton also out as far as Detroit. Josh Jackson was traded. Trey Lyles was traded. Killian Hayes should be available. Cade Cunningham, not officially out, but downgraded to doubtful, which is why, I mean, Dre, you mentioned Kelly Olynyk. I know it's not the same exact position, but pretty solid fantasy appointment player. They did trade for Bagley, which I thought meant that they were going to trade Grant, and they were trying to shop Grant, but I guess they couldn't find the right deal for him. So, I mean, Bagley's not going to play tonight, obviously, but just kind of note that going forward. I thought it'd be like Bagley season possibly, but nope. He's going to be blocked by Grant, presumably. Yeah, what do you have for Andre as far as the Detroit side? I'm looking at our ownership stuff, and Grant has a pretty good price on FanDuel at 5.2K, basically the cheapest we've seen him all season long, and as a flat out punt. Kelly Olynyk is 3.7K. We're projecting 19 minutes, but he's a guy that could play 24, and he's a guy that can get there in 24 minutes. We're also projecting Hamidou Diallo to jump in the starting lineup. He thrived there a couple nights ago, but nothing really that you love. I don't think as a general, Detroit's going to play their 10 guys. That's just what they do. But some good prices. What do you have as far as the Pistons?
Yeah, I definitely do like going with playing these guys for GPP as far as like Kelly Olynyk and Jeremy Grant. They're cheap and not value and not at the right price for what they can provide on a slate with the upside. So those two guys I'll be looking to try to roster as much as I possibly can today. Here and there. I was sprinkling maybe a little bit Isaiah Stewart and Sadiq Bey. Those are the only guys I mainly have interest in. I'm playing strictly on FanDuel tonight. So DK last night. But it's just like Sadiq Bey is a great tournament play just because you never know when he can spark an upside game, shooting the threes and knocking them down. And give you that upside game. But at 6.6K on FanDuel is a little bit pricey, but tournament considerations for sure. And Isaiah Stewart, same thing. He's been playing though around 30 minutes consistently. So that, and then when we see he's been getting like 30, 35, 40, 30 fantasy points in the last couple of games as well. And I think the last time they played against Memphis, he only played 20 minutes. So getting an extra 10 minutes, you can see maybe his fantasy production go up in this game. And he had 20 fantasy points last time out when he played. So you can see it go up to possibly about around probably like same thing around 30, maybe a little bit more. But like I said, those are both tournament plays. More so like the interest would be in Kelly Olynyk or Jeremy Grant.
Kelly O, the best fantasy appointment player on the Pistons team, 1.13 DK, 1.14 FanDuel, which is well above Cunningham's 1.06, 1.03. Justin, your thoughts as far as Detroit, and then jump on over to Memphis, which you could play Ja. He's not popping or anything, but you can play him. Sure. Have at it.
This game scares me a little, but I will say Diallo on DK had a good usage rate in his two of his last three games. He had 27% usage rate in two of the last three. Good to see him be aggressive again. Trey Lyles was playing like 15 to 20 minutes, so those are going to disappear. Who are they going to go to? How are they going to get allocated exactly? I don't know. Isaiah Stewart, we've seen his upside. I feel like he played a lot better last year, generally speaking, than he did this year. But he's been playing better recently. I don't love him on this slate, but I think if you're playing large field stuff, I would definitely have a couple Diallo shares. I would definitely have some Isaiah Stewart shares. I think Kelly Olynyk is the wild card here. There's a ton of, and Dre talked about him. There's a ton of straight chalk with Washington. And I would maybe take, 20 minutes out of Olynyk over. I would say 20 minutes out of Olynyk, he outscores maybe two of those Wizards, maybe could outscore two of those Wizards potentially. I mean, he's just, when he gets going and he has opportunity, he's a guy who's going to make the most of those minutes. I mean, we've seen him crush in limited action. So he is risky, but I think Olynyk is certainly interesting. Over at Memphis, you can play these guys, they're tournament options, but blowout potential. Detroit does play slow. I mean, you see the massive team total, so you have to have some interest that maybe Detroit could, claw it together for 3.5 quarters. But this might be a game for me outside of maybe Olynyk in my 3 max, where I'm gonna play Olynyk on one of my teams and just wait to see if more news breaks, till that 7:30 game starts.
Front end of a back-to-back for Detroit, Island game for Memphis. Andre, what do you think of Memphis? We're seeing Bane at 16% on FanDuel, perfectly fine. Ja at 11%. You have a couple big spends. He's got to be in the pool, I suppose. Probably not the top one, but if you're running a bunch of lineups, like he should be in the mix. And on DK, same deal, pretty much. 3 guys around 10%, Triple J, Ja, and Bane, no surprise there. All sort of like fine secondary pieces for tournaments, but nothing you necessarily have to play at sort of by read. What say you?
Yeah, same thing. Those are the 3 main guys I'm looking at: Bane, Morant, and Jaren Jackson. Great tournament options just to get your lineup different today. Don't really see how they can have an upside game here, but definitely something to keep in your lineups, in your player pool, because you never know that they might just spark an upside game here or there. I love Bane's price at 6K too on FanDuel. That stands out a little bit more as a more than the other guys, and someone I would probably look to try to get a little bit more of compared to everyone else.
All right, let's work our way over to the Brooklyn-Washington game. By the way, this is TNT. TNT drew Washington versus Brooklyn, and no Harden and no Durant and no anybody on the Wizards. Good job, TNT. They do have the rematch of the finals as the second half of the doubleheader, so that's pretty cool. Milwaukee and Phoenix, but the first one's pretty rough. Washington does, again, they do have 11 guys available for what it's worth. We just kind of ran down all the guys that are not going to be available for them tonight: Dinwiddie, Holiday, Harrell, Bertans, Beal, and Gafford, which is why we're looking at Howell Neto as being, 3.1K on DK. We're expecting him to draw a start and play 30 minutes or so here against Brooklyn. All these guys are just so cheap. KCP is 3.5K. He should play a bunch of minutes. Kispert, we're expecting him to draw a start. It could be, Avdia, I suppose. He's fine either way. Kuzma looks like the guy that's going to absolutely shine here. But everybody else is so cheap. That's the hard part, is like the salaries. 3-1 for Neto, 3-2 for KCP, 3 flat for Kispert, 7-4 for Kuzma, Bryant at 3-3, Rui 3-4, Avdia 3-6. Like, that's why, Justin. That's why opportunity, and they're incredibly cheap. So I don't think you can completely ignore Washington. There is some fragility, of course, to some of these players too. But what's your read as far as the Wizards? Prioritize them. Who are your favorites? Power rank them. What do you have for me?
I think Howell, our guy, is the number 1 play and number 1 value piece on this slate. I think he's kind of on his tier of his own. I just for Kuzma, the more I'm thinking about it, and we're projecting him at a very high ownership, and he's the most expensive player in this game. I think, like, if I'm having Kuzma shares for tournaments, that's where I would prioritize a run back on Brooklyn and at least have like a 1-1 correlation. And we'll get to the Brooklyn side. I'll hand that over to Dre then, because I know he mentioned Patty Mills. But I'm okay with playing these cheap value guys by themselves. When I play Kuzma for tournaments, if I land on him and I'm still not done editing, I will probably run it back with someone from Brooklyn, because I want the game to be good. There's so much volatility when you just have all these guys play in terms of game environment. Of course, neither team can really play defense, but it could get ugly. I mean, I don't know. There's a lot of variables going here. This could be a 20-point game after, going into halftime for all I know. But the cheap guys can still get there, even if the total scrubs end up playing the fourth quarter to mop up. So I'm more prone to playing the cheap guys in this game, but I do like Patty Mills on the flip side. So it's Neto for me, Kuzma for tournament. For tournaments with a run back, because he is 50-point upside now for sure. I mean, he's done it a couple times this season. And you know what? I'm having a hard time figuring out what big I like between Bryant and Rui. But it was really encouraging to see Rui play those 26 minutes, I think, last time out. So, man, if he pushes 30, I mean, I know we're not going to have him projected that high, and nowhere in the industry will, but who's to say he might not play 30 if it's a good game, build his confidence level up here, kind of new regime, shipping out Dinwiddie. So he's number 3 for me, Rui.
Rui played 10 first half minutes and 16 in the second half of the entire fourth quarter in a blowout. But maybe that was just them kind of working him in the conditioning just to see, can he play 26 minutes? And it's hard to sort of say, but I think he can play 26 minutes. I don't know if he plays beyond that, but
I mean, all these guys are in play. Kispert, KCP,
Yeah.
I'm going to try to mix and match my exposure here for sure. They're definitely all in play. And Dre, this is where you set some build rules in lineup HQ to not kind of glob all these guys together.
Go ahead, Andre. And I think it's important to note, by the way, on FanDuel and DK, kind of the differences in prices and the priorities and stuff like that. But yeah, Andre, go for it as far as the Washington. I know you kind of touched on it earlier, but feel free to elaborate.
Yeah, I have a very different stance on Washington. I'm not playing all these guys. I'm taking stance on playing some of them. because I'm multi-entering, but also I don't believe in some of these guys, especially even with all these people being out. Like, I want to go for people who I know, who I watch these games, so I want to go for guys who I know can actually literally play the game, put the ball in the basket. Raul Neto, someone I cannot ever not play, just because of the fact that I know that he can go out there and give me 30 fantasy points at 4.1K or 3.1 on DK. Those prices are he's just too cheap pretty much. A guy like Thomas Bryant just scares me with the amount of minutes he's playing. He looks good when he's been out there, but it's like I said, the minutes has bothered me a lot. But he's someone I do have in my pool. Kyle Kuzma is probably my favorite just because of the simple fact of the upside. And the last time that we saw a matchup when Bradley Beal was out, Bradley Beal's been out for a while now. They play a little bit more faster. So I like this matchup, especially against Brooklyn, because there's not really many bigs out there. Suddenly, LaMarcus Aldridge is out. Claxton is questionable. So to me, Kuzma should have a field day, reboundable and scoring, and he should have all the usage. So to me, he should be a core play and for that reason alone. So he's someone I really want to try to get as much exposure to as I possibly can, not get over the field. And Denny Avdia is someone I like a little bit in tournaments as the cheapy guy. I know we have 3 other small forwards that we can run out where you can run Rui, you can run Kisberg as well, one of those other 2 as well, or Caldwell Pope. But I think Avdia might be the best option out of all of them. You have to rely on KCP. He's a 3-and-D guy. You got to rely on his shooting to be there, and hopefully get some steals and blocks, which I don't want to have to rely fully on that just for him to give me an upside game at 4-3. Kisberg, someone I might consider putting back in my pool, but right now 3-7, you got to rely on his shooting, and if he gives me like 25 fantasy points, that actually would help. But it's just the likelihood of him doing that, I think, on this slate. It's high, but not as high as I might want it to be. And Rui, that's what we worked. He's been working and getting back into it a little bit more. And he's a good play in my opinion, but I just don't like his upside. He hasn't, to me, shown that he can have a big game without Bradley Beal. Dating back to last year for me, just playing him in tournaments last year. So he's the one I'm least. Him and KCP are the ones I'm least. Have the least interest in running back, but all those other guys I can see myself getting into and playing in tournaments for sure, and mixing them all in and matching them.
Can I publicly talk myself back into Caldwell Pope for a second? Is that okay?
Go for it.
Let me ask you this, Dre. Are you more willing to play KCP at 3.5 on DK opposed to 4.3 on FanDuel? Does that price change your mind at all on KCP?
No.
Okay. Well, I was kind of having the same thoughts, generally speaking, like, yeah, KCP, but he's played 50 games this season, and I was like counting a game log, so I might be like a game off here. He has had 8 games of 30 or more DK points, which 8 out of 50, not a great percentage, but he's usually like the 5th fiddle. But he's only played 18 games of 30 plus minutes, so it's not like he's played a ton of burn, and we haven't projected for 31 minutes. Who really knows what they're going to do with all these guys? I'm kind of agreeing. I'm going to agree with our minutes projections and hope that's the case, though. But, if we get 14, 15 shots at a KCP and still a decent team total, I think I'm going to bump KCP above Rui in my rankings of Nets. So
I would definitely have KCP above Rui in the rankings if it was just them 2 for sure. That's without a doubt. I can't see myself playing Rui at all, honestly, because he doesn't seem to have do anything offensively or defensively from me watching his game dating back to last year.
Kelly Olynyk over Rui for tournaments? Is that where your head's at?
Oh yeah, definitely.
I could buy into that.
I think he's got more upside, Kelly, right? Kelly might be a tick. Well, I don't even want. He might be just as safe, actually. I'm buying the Olynyk when Andre is selling it. I think and like Cunningham presumably being out, I think helps too. Right. Not the same position, but just helps in the overall. So lineup HQ. Go to lineup HQ on DraftKings. I sort by point per dollar. Best plays, point per dollar. Raw points obviously matter, but values matter too. The first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 are all wizards. Number 7 is a wizard. And like number 10 is Kuzma, and he's a wizard as well. Howell, Neto, KCP, Kispert, Bryant, Avdia, all wizards. It is interesting, but they all kind of sort of are a little bit, I don't want to say trappy, but I understand what Andre is saying too, because they're not great fantasy players on the whole. Like Kispert, and again, this stuff, I try to run a court IQ kicking people off the court, but like you get no sample when you kick everybody off that normally plays. So, but you kind of do it in your head. But Kispert traditionally 0.65 DK points per minute. That's not great. KCP, he plays a bunch of minutes, but 0.73, Neto 0.74, Avdia 0.82, Rui 0.83, Thomas 0.84. Kuzma is 1.06, and he's going to be elevated, I think. And that's obviously, of course, you're paying for him the most, but it is interesting, man. I see both sides of it. I don't want to have too much. I'm probably going to cap myself at 3. So a little bit more than Andre, but yeah. And then Andre, there are ready-made, obvious runbacks as far as the Brooklyn sides. Like you can clearly run it back with Kyrie in this game. Again, we know that James Harden obviously out, no LMA, no Millsap, no Durant, no Joe Harris. And then there's Patty Mills. Do you like much beyond Kyrie and Patty Mills as far as runbacks?
I like a little bit of Blake too as well. I think I'm gonna have maybe a little bit of exposure to Blake. Like I said, this is a great tournament slate because if ownership is really gonna be like this, and I understand people are going to get on the value, you don't want to play the mid-range guys on and try to get as much upside and get as much the big name players as you can in your lineups. But a guy like Patty Mills should not be projected at 1% ownership. And where he's going to have to be the second primary scorer on his team. We saw what he did when he played against the Warriors. It was just him and Kyrie, and everyone else was out. He put up, I think, that game against the Warriors. He played 37 minutes and had 46 fantasy points. So, and that's on FanDuel. On DK, it was. Sorry, I'm trying to get the DK of fantasy scoring up. DK was 46 as well. So to me, that just shows you that he can have an upside when the shooting is there. So he's someone I love for tournaments, and I'm gonna be well over the field with him for sure. Hopefully take down a tournament with him for sure. And Blake Griffin as well. He's gonna have to play minutes. There's no way around that, especially if Claxton doesn't play. So if we get news that Claxton's out, lock in Blake Griffin for probably like 30 minutes. I cannot see him not play. Like, what are you gonna do? Rely on Sharp again?
They still have Sharp and they have Johnson. And like Rui can play the 5s. Like, how big is Washington? I guess that's kind of the question, right?
Well, yeah. Besides Thomas Bryant, no one else. But Thomas Bryant is still an athletic big too. So I can see Blake. I can see Blake playing like 20, 25 minutes, but at that price, 5.2 is a little pricey, I know, but I think he can still give you a good game here. 4.4, definitely. He's in play on DK for sure, but a great, excellent tournament play to me on FanDuel.
Are you out on Blake if Claxton plays or if Blake doesn't start?
I have to see the starting lineup. I think that's going to determine more so than anything. Because, like you were saying, if Blake doesn't start, then it might encourage me to play more, not go with him and get more Claxton. But I guess I'll just have to see based on that.
Justin, what do you have for me as far as the Brooklyn runbacks?
I'll give you a hypothetical. What if DeAndre Bembry got waived? Would that change?
He just did, yeah. I just saw that.
Would that change your mind at all?
I mean, it's one of those guys. Yeah, he's like, doesn't change my mind about anything.
DeAndre Bembry's out. Knock him down in their futures rankings. Yeah, I like Mills a lot. He's probably
played too a lot.
Bruce Brown can fill it up when he gets burned. It's just the question is, when is he ever going to get some run? Yeah, that's random. I didn't expect Bembry to get waived. Just a sidebar to the Wizard. I got a trivia question for you, Dean. Real shot in the dark. What game do you think Corey Kispert had his highest usage of the season in?
I'm gonna guess it was against Brooklyn.
No, it was the last game he played. Like,
okay. I thought you were asking opponent. Okay.
It's like, why do you have to do that to us, Corey Kispert? Why do you have to lobby yourself to be on one of my rosters even more now? So that's interesting. That's obviously one game, but it counted. So yeah, Brooklyn, honestly, for me, outside of Mills and Kyrie, couldn't think of that other guy's name. Those are my two leans in that game. Again, I'm playing small field stuff, so I'm not diving way too much into the rest of Brooklyn here.
Anything else there, Andre, before we move on? I mean, I think we spent a lot of time in this game because it's one of the most important games in the slate.
Nope, we're good to go.
All right, let's move on. Our Miami Heat are in New Orleans. 218 is the total. New Orleans is a 5-point dog here. They're expecting Tony Snell to be available, CJ McCollum to be available. Larry Nance, they traded for him, and he just had season-ending surgery, I believe, or he's going to have it. so he will not be available. Miami, we don't know about Caleb Martin. He is questionable. Otherwise, Miami basically fully healthy. Of course, Marquise Morris is still not available. Yeah, Andre. Well, you're playing. I know you're talking. We were playing a good bit on FanDuel today. Do you like that Kyle Lowry price over there on FanDuel?
God, that is a steal. That is a steal. 5.4K. Why is he only 10%? Like, why is he only 10%?
Because of Kyrie and Chris Paul, and there's other guys, man.
Wizards value.
Paolo.
I'd rather play
Luka.
Give me Kyrie. Give me Kyle Lowry over this Wizards value all day, every day. I'll take that. I love getting Kyle Lowry today. I'm gonna be well over the field on him too. And Jimmy Butler, I like him in tournaments as well. I think we have him. I think it's 18%. We have him projected. I think it's gonna be honestly probably a little bit lower than that. Honestly,
I agree.
But I love those two today. I can't get to no one else on Miami, but those two just stand out to me as like the best plays, or some of the best plays on the slate.
We got Bam at 2%. Like nobody's playing him. Yeah, I guess you can if you want to, but I don't think I will. He's 9-4 on FanDuel. Like
he's just too much on FanDuel for me today. Unfortunately, I want to, but
yeah,
9-4 is expensive when you got guys that can just have so much upside in cheaper prices.
What story you got to tell yourself to like justify Bam for 9-4? Like, how does he get there? How does that work? Like he's fine probably, but yeah, I can't do that. Justin, feel free to jump. DK fan, whatever you want to talk about as far as Miami. The Lowry stuff is really, really good on FanDuel. Again, there's a lot of options there too, and he kind of gets lost a little bit, but I agree. He should be higher owned than 10%. It's 6-7 on DK. It's much harder to justify. The ownership reflects it at 1%. The only one getting any ownership really on Miami or anybody in this game actually on DK is Butler at 8-9%. Next guy, as far as ownership we're seeing is Bam Adebayo. No, Valanciunas at 4%, Bam at 3%, Ingram at 3%. The addition of McCollum, like it helps New Orleans out overall, but I think it's going to hurt, the big names. It's going to hurt everybody, to some degree. And they're all kind of priced as if McCollum wasn't there. So all New Orleans goes down for me. And also Miami's not the great matchup. So yeah, I know I'll ask Andre in a second about, he loves Ingram, always likes BI, but I don't know if I'm paying 9-2 on I know I'm not. I'm not paying 9-2 for BI today on DK. It's just not happening. But Justin, your thoughts as far as Miami and jump over to New Orleans?
Yeah. Big price discrepancy with Kyle Lowry. Not playing him on DK at 67. Not on this slate. It's funny if this was like a normal slate, and it's not. This is an anomaly. One of the 10 strangest slates we'll probably play this season with the deadline. We'd be talking about Jimmy Butler against New Orleans, 5th highest team total. Still projected just 10%. I think Butler is a very interesting tournament option because with all the value, we're going to see more ownership garnering towards the top, whether it's Luka or Giannis, and we'll talk about them a little bit later here. I can't play Bam. If I can get Jimmy for 300 more than Bam on any slate on any day, I'm just going to take Jimmy regardless. So that's pretty much it. Interest in Jimmy. On the flip side, I'll make this really quick. I'll pull a Will Priester and say, I ain't playing anybody from New Orleans today. That's it. What a difference 48 hours make. We went from Brandon Ingram at like 50% to probably not going to get much love tonight.
Yeah. Valanciunas is a good price in FanDuel. I'll say that. 7K is pretty reasonable. What do you have here, Andre?
I just have Brandon Ingram and
there it is
in tournaments today. Definitely going to have them probably as run backs. With anybody I play for Miami, just a little game stack that if that game goes off, and because if you go overtime, Lord knows you're gonna need those guys. So definitely want to have those for sure. I really would love to roster CJ McCollum, but I want to see how he plays his first game with my with New Orleans and see how it all works and gels together. So I'll be watching film on that before I decide to roster him going forward.
Toronto and Houston, 223 is the total in this game. Of course, FEV, Freddie VanVleet, is not playing today. So that's, take 40 minutes out of the rotation there for the Toronto side. Houston, Eric Gordon, I wasn't sure if he was actually hurt or just like throwing a tag on him just because they're trying to trade him, but he was not traded to the best of my knowledge. I don't think he was traded, and he is questionable with his heel. They did trade Daniel Tice. That's all, they went back to Boston, but Houston, as far as I can tell, just has 9 guys. Wait, was Gordon ruled out? Did I miss that? Do you guys know about Eric Gordon? Because he's not currently on our page.
I'll tell you in a second.
I have no idea. I haven't got no alerts about Eric Gordon besides that he might have been traded, but he was supposed to be traded, but
He is doubtful. Last I saw.
Okay, so then okay, so he's doubtful, and we're probably going to see Wood and Şengün start alongside each other one more time, and Porter and Tate and Green, and besides that, not a lot of depth in that Houston side. What do you have, Andre?
No, sorry. No, I just read something that said Kyrie was eager for the James Harden trade to go through.
A little bit of narrative.
I have to go to the game when they play each other.
Oh, can you go? Is it home? Where's it at? Is it in Brooklyn?
I think it's in Philly, so I'm gonna have to go to your end of
Oh, come on. We'll go to a non-tourist cheesesteak spot and we'll check
Pat's, Geno's, those are the tourist places, right?
Correct. Yeah.
You frown on that? Like that's where the noobs go or whatever?
No, they're still good. I mean, listen, I'm not technically from Philly. I'm north of Philly. I'm about an hour and 20 minutes north. But yeah, those are the tours. They're still good, right? But I'm partial to gyms, and I like this little place called Oregon Steaks in South Philly. Those are the two of my favorite spots there.
Fair enough. All right, I'll throw this to you, Andre. Houston's going to be reasonably thin. Of course, Toronto. We know who's Trent and Anunoby, Barnes, Pascal should all play a ton of minutes. Boucher gets a bump, I think, with the absence of FEV, and then maybe Banton gets some run at some point guard, and he's like super cheap as well, 3.1K on DK. We're projecting Precious Achiuwa to start. I'm not terribly enthused at that. I know he's cheap, but whatever. What do you have? Start on either side you want. Well, what do you want as far as this game?
Well, Houston, Houston's not really much talking on that side in this matchup. It's only like, I don't even know if I might honestly eliminate these guys. Well, eliminate at least Jalen Green, because I don't like him. He's a really iffy guy when it comes to fantasy points in general. And I don't think he can't burn me, in my opinion. But Şengün is my only guy I really want to mainly try to roster, if anybody, from Houston. I like that. I like him a lot. He obviously has an upside of 5.1K on DK. I mean, on FanDuel is an excellent price to try to get him in and use him in tournaments for sure. And when it comes to Toronto, I want to run out the main usual suspects for them for sure. Definitely Barnes, OG, Pascal, Trent. I'm going to have probably a good amount of exposure to all of those guys for sure. Ban is the one that concerns me. I know he's getting talked about, I think, a couple places in the industry today, and getting predicted a little bit high, but it just worries me how many minutes is he going to play. That's what just mainly concerns me. So I might try to. I'm not sure if I'm going to roster him today or not, but he would be a great tournament play, definitely, if he gets the run.
You assume he doesn't start though, right?
Yeah, I definitely assume he doesn't start. I think they're going to probably put like either Precious in the starting lineup or Boucher in there. So maybe he gets a little bit of run, but I just don't know how much run he's going to get. That's the main concern I'm trying to figure out here.
Yeah, our minutes right now for Toronto, we got 40 for Pascal, 37 for either for both Trent and OG, 36 for Barnes, the four main guys, and then Boucher 26, 23 for Banton, 20 for Precious, 10 for Flynn. He can play some point. Yeah, Birch is a few.
I think the last game Fred was out was against Chicago. Looking up the Court IQ, which is on Rotogrinders Premium. Just go get it, guys. It's really, really helpful. He played 23 minutes, pretty much 24 minutes, 7 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists that game. So he's in play, but not a high GPP play, in my opinion.
Justin, your thoughts as far as the Raptors? Are you expecting that lineup that we have projected with Precious at the 5 and Pascal at the 4? Trent Trent's at the 1, or Barnes? However you want to work that.
It's probably. I mean, Siakam's been playing some small ball 5 throughout most of the games lately anyway. You got to love these minutes. And if this game stays close, I think the Raptors are going to be in some tournament winners. I think OG is really interesting as kind of a sort of a leverage play, at least on DK. He's also shooting guard eligible over Trent at about half the ownership. He hasn't had a great game in a while. Houston is sloppy. They are 28th in opponent blocks per game. They are dead last in opponent steals per game. When I think blocks and steals, I think OG, right? It's just what he does. Over the last 3 games, if this is right, Houston is giving up 12 steals per game, if that's right, which is unsurprisingly the worst in the league. So
Porter Jr. is sloppy with the ball, yes.
Yeah. So all these the main suspects, usual suspects, as Dre said, they're all in play. Trent's in a great spot as well. Siakam's my favorite play. I know that's a boring answer, but I think OG is kind of my tournament play today. I'm gonna try to get to him at 7-2 in this game environment, minus Fred VanVleet. I think he is super interesting here. Nice pace up spot for them too.
I did run a court IQ, kicked off Freddie VanVleet. I kicked off Dragic too, just because another ball handler. I know he hasn't played much, obviously, but the biggest bump as far as assist rate would be for Pascal. And I guess Bonga and Flynn don't matter. Then Danton, then Barnes, Birch. Just their biggest assist rate though is Pascal, for what it's worth there. So I think he's pretty interesting, and he's been getting a fair bit of assists of late. I think he averages around 5 or so in the season as well. And I know he's the priciest, but it's condensed rotation, awesome matchup. Is generally a good combination. Feels pretty safe here. You love playing against Houston. The minutes, especially the key 4. I mean, they're kind of sort of priced where they should be, but there's plenty of they can break that ceiling as well. What about the Houston side, Justin?
It's been cool. The Sun Gun experiment's been cool. Him and Christian Wood playing alongside each other. He's a good point per minute guy. 1.16, I think, DK points per minute. I try not to bake in foul trouble or blowouts too often. I try to play the upside, I guess, and whether you agree with me or not, that to each their own. But I am a little worried if Sengun is going to get some time on Siakam. Would that be his draw in the big lineup with Christian Wood? As long as if they run Precious at the 5, I don't know, but that worries me. That could be like a 3 foul in 7 minutes kind of game for Sengun. Maybe. I try not to think that way, and he's still a great price. He's had a couple 30, 35 point games in limited time. We're slowly seeing the leash come off him. You look at his game log, is a big difference in minutes the last 4 games or so than earlier this month. But you got to take everything with a grain of salt, whatever the coaches and beat writers say. Because Dean, about a week ago, I guarantee you talked about it on Grinderslive at some point. They said, we're not playing Sengun with Christian Wood. No way are they going to run together. BS. So I think he's a good play. A little worried about the fouls. If he's your last guy in, I don't hate it. I prefer some of the Wizards' value over him, though. So Houston got rid of Armani Brooks, and Daniel Tice went back to Boston. Yay, happy, remarriage there in Boston. So Kevin Porter Jr. finally played a decent amount of minutes, and it's not like he doesn't, but it's always like pulling teeth to get this guy to play like 30, 31 minutes. I feel like some days. Good to see that almost 36 number against New Orleans. With all the value that opened up, his ownership projections pretty much in check here. I think KPJ is an interesting run back here with some of these Toronto guys, and hope that's just a good game.
Andre?
Toronto?
Yeah, I'm sorry. As far as the Houston side,
that's the only person I like is Sengun. I said it before. I like the Sengun over like no one else, and Toronto I talked about already.
It is interesting, by the way. You think sometimes you just say who on Houston's gonna subdue Pascal, and Wood is not a noted defender. Sengun is 19 and raw. Pascal should be able to crush these guys. He should just be able to wreck. I know he's expensive, but I just think he's a good play tonight, and I'll figure out a way to get some shares of him.
I feel like the only way he doesn't get 50 is if this is a 30-point game and at halftime or the third quarter. If it's close, he's going to play 37 to 40 minutes, right? So thanks, Nick Nurse. I take back all the bad things I said about you the past 2 years. Thank you for playing your guys' big minutes. We appreciate you.
It is the back end of a back-to-back, and it's travel as well. And the 3rd and 4 nights, all of them on the road, if you want to factor that kind of stuff in. But does Nick Nurse care about stuff like that? I don't know. Maybe that's why FABs did the day off. I don't. Well, what's the reason why? Whether they give him an injury? I feel like they've nursed a knee possibly or something like that a couple times throughout the year.
Groin.
Okay, groin. That's a new one, I think. But
did you just say he nursed a knee injury on the Nick Nurse team?
I didn't. It just sort of happened organically. That wasn't intentional. I wasn't shooting for a pun or anything. But
that was good.
So traditionally, that's the Vegas spot. It's oh man, this is just blindly bet against the team, 3rd game in 4 nights on the road, all of them on the road in a back-to-back. But whatever, just sort of throwing that out there.
You know what's a
And
funny trend? Total sidebar. Funny trend is, and I listen to Sirius Radio sometimes, and Brent Musburger had a stat that I don't know what the exact numbers are, but a lot of the games where a team flops is the first game back from a long road trip, at least in MLB. So I was trying to
Interesting.
apply that to NBA. So maybe it's just like you're at home, you get to relax, sleep in your. I don't know. Maybe you just lose like the sense of urgency. I don't know. Are you more uncomfortable on the road and you're just like alert, ready to go? I don't know what it is, but I don't know. Maybe we'll see Siakam get a night off this weekend or something. But good for Fred getting the night off. You've been playing a lot.
It's probably like player based, like the guy that is like 20 years old and just out to have a good time, and then there's like the family man who's like really a family man, and it's different. Like you get to like concentrate on the road. I don't know. I would just say,
so is
I would
Fred
imagine,
VanVleet a family man?
I don't.
Or is he a
I don't know what
partier?
his backstory is. Andre, like you have a thought? I don't know. What do we know? I have no idea what that life is like. But
James Harden's a family man, right? He'll be fine in Philly.
the Philly gentlemen's clubs are very excited for sure.
Oh my goodness.
I don't. Yeah, Andre, do you have a take on that, or we're just throwing stuff against the wall? Like, who really knows?
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I literally have no idea. I'm gonna whenever I get the chance to talk to an NBA player, I will ask him.
I would ask that question. Yeah, I wouldn't open with it, but I would ask it eventually.
Listen, honestly, the cheesesteaks are better than the strip clubs in Philly. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, there's got to be like an Always Sunny episode based on this too that I've not seen just, or maybe I just forgot about it. They've got like 15 seasons or something like that. At some point, they must have hit it. Clippers versus the Mavericks, 215.5 is the total. Clippers are 7-point dogs here. Ibaka was traded to Milwaukee, which I guess Milwaukee thinks Ibaka is better than Cousins, or they just kind of got stuck with that. And also, I think Brook Lopez might be seriously in trouble. That's the other thought. It's like maybe he's not coming back. Dallas, of course, traded away Porzingis. He wasn't going to play anyway. THJ out for a while. Well, Andre, I think we can be pretty quick on the Clippers. Do you like any Clippers tonight?
Only Clipper I like is Reggie Jackson. Tournaments, brace only. That's really it. Don't see a reason why to use anyone else from them. There's too much chaos in there as far as who to play, who's gonna go off, who's not. I'd rather just ease my mind. If I lose, I lose.
They play 10, 11 guys. Few of them, if any, get over 30 minutes. I guess Powell, like in theory, can put like 30 points in the bucket, I suppose. But yeah, it's really hard to get excited about anybody in LA. Justin, do you want to give me a sell on any of the Clippers, or you just want to talk about how good Luka is?
Yeah, pretty much. I just think it's like if Kawhi's going to miss the rest of the year, and is Paul George ever going to play again, or is he done too? Did the Clippers just try to turn into the poor man's version of the Blazers by just having a collection of above average wing players? I feel like that's what Portland was stuck in outside of, obviously Dame and McCollum. They just had a collection of too many wings that are pretty good. So, Powell 6,800. I can't play him. He looked pretty good so far, in a Clippers uniform. But I'm okay with just talking about Luka and how good he is. If you want to go there,
how much are you prioritizing Luka tonight on this slate? We're looking at 31% ownership on DK, 45% ownership on FanDuel. The price is kind of steep, but he's just been absolutely incredible in the absence of Porzingis and the absence of THJ. Just awesome. Always a threat for a triple double too. He can get there multiple routes. It's just a matter of what studs you're prioritizing, position and lineup construction and all that. But just a fabulous play. It's going to cost you, but I think you have the salary as well.
Yeah, I mean, he's a priority. And for me, I'm prioritizing the Raptors, Luka, and we'll get to Giannis. I don't want to steal your thunder with the Giannis conversation, but it kind of goes hand in hand with this. One of the reasons I am prioritizing Giannis a little bit more is he was projected to come in at half of the ownership is Luka. We'll have to see what the most recent update is, but it's much better to get a high upside run back in that late night hammer with Giannis if you go Booker or Paul, but most likely one of the two. Because we kind of disagree. There's nobody in the Clippers any of us want to play outside of maybe Reggie Jackson. That's pretty much it. Luka can totally get it done as a one-off. You can correlate your lineup somewhere else, with a mini stack or something like that. Luka and Brunson. Luka had incredible foul trouble. Was it 4 in the first half and then 5 in the first minutes of the third quarter the other night, and still had a median outcome game and was fine. He bombed the Sixers last week for 80, and then he crushes in a blowout, barely plays the fourth quarter most recently. Without Porzingis, without Hardaway, he's pushing a 40% usage. I can't say anything bad about Luka. You're playing him in cash games tonight with all the value that's going to be in play as it is, and he's fine for tournaments, and I would just correlate somewhere else.
Andre, Luka, the rest of the Mavs. Do you have Luka ahead of Kyrie right now? Yeah. What do you have as far as Dallas?
Luka is. See, I kind of want to have Luka ahead of Kyrie, but it's just the pricing matters a lot, especially on the slate. Kyrie's 9-4, and he can give me 40, 50 point upside. Unless Luka gets 70, and then I don't think he'll kill me today. So I'm going to probably side more with Kyrie, but Luka against the Clippers, it's going to be a competitive game down to the wire. He's going to have a good game for sure. He's probably going to have a triple-double and get the win, hopefully. But he's a fantastic play. I just can't get away from the price of Kyrie with the usage. Only the way Kyrie fails is if Kyrie doesn't perform, and I just will count my chickens on and put more of my money on, I guess, Kyrie performing well, especially in this matchup, especially now that he with this narrative that I guess that he was eager to get James Harden out of town in a way. Let's see him play now. I want to see you, Kyrie, go on and have a monster game against this Washington Wizards team.
Oh, Kyrie and Ben Simmons in the same locker room. Can we get a Hard Knocks series or something? I don't know.
I'm drawing a blank. What is the history between Kyrie and Simmons? What am I missing? Is there something distinct out there, or it's just like they're two interesting characters and that's that?
They're just two interesting people.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
Glenn Rivers has made some awful coaching decisions since his tenure. I mean, the other night against Phoenix, he just left in the B squad in crunch time. Embiid, Maxine Harris weren't on the court with like 4 minutes left, and the Sixers choked that game away. I'm sure at least one of you saw the end of that game. It was pretty.
He traded away his son. No way.
Yeah,
no.
Son-in-law.
Son-in-law. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I was
awkward Thanksgiving dinner coming up, I suppose.
I'm not sure if he's the GM. Is he the GM for Philly? Maybe he is. I'm not sure. He probably has a voice in it, I'm sure.
Oh, I'm sure. But you know what? The thing is, like, at least he has managed some high profile personalities before. The Clippers never got to the championship, and maybe that was a big red flag in Doc's resume. But he did have Chris Paul in his prime, and Blake Griffin and DeAndre Jordan, and those were some personalities in their prime in the same locker room. How's Steve Nash gonna, deal with Kyrie, KD? Of course, he got rid of Harden, which is probably maybe a sigh of relief for him. But now you bring in Ben Simmons, who hasn't played a single game this year, and he likes playing PUBG. He's just been playing Xbox. That's all he's been doing. All right, I'm done. We go before I go on a rant here.
Retroactively, we got to give Mike Tomlin credit with Antonio Brown for those years. Yeah, it's just like you never really heard about much. I don't think, at least unless I missed it until the last few years. We got anything else here, Andre? Or are we moving on?
I think we can move on. I do like Brunson, and I do like Finney Smith as an option off of those other as an option off of those Team Washington guys. I think Finney Smith, I know he's a little bit more expensive, but I think he's still a good play.
All right, we got the Knicks and Golden State. 217.5 is the total. Golden State is about a 14-point favorite here versus New York. RJ Barrett is out for the New York side. We don't know about Mitch Robbie. He's currently questionable. Same deal with Nerlens Noel. We're expecting Klay Thompson to come back from his rest. Iguodala is still out. Bielitsa just saw it come across. Apparently, he's not on the injury report, so I guess he's going to be available for whatever that's worth. I suspect. Otto Porter is going to rest if I did not say that already, and Draymond Green, of course, is still out. Andre, with the absence of RJ Barrett and potentially a couple of the bigs, we'll see. It's a 10 o'clock game. We probably won't know. How interested in we as far as the New York side? It's still the Knicks. They're still kind of fragile.
it's the Knicks. I feel bad for all my friends that are Knicks fans. You get disappointed every single year. Maybe next year, hopefully.
Bing bong.
But I think there's not really anyone I really like. I have Alex Burks, Evan Fournier, and Mitchell Robinson in my player pool right now. they're all just GPP plays. Honestly, I just don't know how much I'm going to roster of them. We got a lot of ownership coming on Alec Burks, but I don't know. I know he's been getting a lot of the minutes lately, but the production hasn't been the greatest, in my opinion. I want someone who has more upside than what he brings to the table. Golden State is still a good defense without Draymond. They just everything's on a string with them. So I personally don't know how much I'm going to roster anybody. The next, my favorite Nick 2 roster would be honestly Mitchell Robinson if he plays, just because of the upside he brings on to the table. And if Thibodeau is going to continue to give him 30 minutes, his upside is limitless. He might be one of the best plays on the slate, and he can easily smash. We saw what he did against Utah last time, where he played 36 minutes at 60 fantasy points. So he's the best play for me on the Knicks that I want to possibly play, and that's really about it.
I think we might be a little bit hot on Burks at 33 minutes. I don't know. I don't feel great that it's a lock for 33 minutes. I don't know. Just the thought. He certainly can get there, and seems a little bit high for me. And like that's, if he does play 33, he's probably the best play on New York. Otherwise, whatever, man. The rest is Mitch Rob is fine, but we don't know if he's playing or not. Mm-hmm. Justin, New York, you want to sell us on anything?
No, I just saw Lip post in chat that he wants to play Kemba kind of thing, and I was just gonna say I wish I had the stones to play Kemba at 3,900 over some of this chalk, but Man, are you guys surprised that the Knicks didn't make a move? Like, I think the problem is I don't even think the Knicks know who the Knicks are. Speaking of collection of talent, like, why do you have Alec Burks, Evan Fournier, Cam Reddish, like all these wings, Kemba Walker, Derrick Rose, like who's in your like? Where do we draw on the line in the sand? Who is in our plans moving forward? Are we just going to play another 80 games and try to figure it out again for the next season? I don't know. And of course, Randall kind of shutting the laptop on the season.
What was the point of trading for Reddish if you're not even at least like see? I mean, they're sprinkling him in, I suppose, but I don't know.
Tibbs didn't want him there. That was a GM move that they did, which is better. Cam Reddish, like everyone's talking about, Cam Reddish has probably the most talent out of all those three guys that came from Duke that year, and he gets no play right now, which I don't understand why. He should be ahead of a lot of those guys in those rotations, but Tibbs is going to be Tibbs and play his guys. He's not even playing Kemba like that, which I don't understand. But it is what it is. The Knicks will always be the Knicks. They're not playing hard right now. They're just a bad team. I'm just gonna call it what it is. They're just bad, really bad. Don't play Kemba though. Lips, I understand how cheap. I don't care how cheap he is.
3.9.
Don't play him. I mean, unless you're running 150 lineups, don't play him.
You and your girlfriend and like your other girlfriend are running 450. Maybe they throw one.
I
correct that obviously.
That could be a red flag with you said that's a GM move. Maybe Tibbs is on his way out. Maybe there's just some friction there. I don't know if there's odds on first coach to get canned moving forward, but
have we not had a coach fired this season in the NBA?
Have we? I mean, we had a billion Frank Vogel reasons. Like he's the problem, right? Like Frank.
Well, I mean, the guys, they have to, it's that hot dog gift. Like, I wonder what the problem is or whatever. Like the GM, the person that put this team together. Like, what were you doing, right? But well, let's blame this guy because then we get to, we get to keep our jobs.
Have we had a coach fire? I don't think we have yet. Have we?
Don't know if we have. I missed it, I guess.
Yeah.
Not sure. Somebody let us know in chat. You mentioned chat. Hey, YouTube, there is a chat for us. What's up, YouTube? Hit that like button. Do subscribe. We appreciate all that stuff. Turn on notifications and join the Rotogrinders chat. Rotogrinders.com/Discord, the live stream chat channel. Producer Steve is pulling your questions, whatever questions you may have, comments, whatever is relevant to the conversation. We're going to knock it out. End of the show. We're still here for about 18 more minutes before we turn it over to the premium side. Andy Means, Kevin Roth, Crunch Time. We're going to talk about the Warriors in a second, and we're going to talk about the hammer that is Milwaukee and Phoenix, the rematch of the NBA Finals. Justin, the Warriors, are we excited about the Warriors tonight?
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
Nope.
Yeah. I mean, you could always play Steph. You could always, yeah, sure. Why not? But are you going to? Probably not. Yeah. Maybe.
Yeah, I won't have any. I don't know if I'll have anybody from this game as a collectively. Maybe maybe Randall falls his way into one of my teams, but I don't think I'm gonna have any of this game. Andre, what are your thoughts? You gonna have any of this game collectively?
If anything, it'll be Steph or it will be or Wiggins. That's the only two players I have on FanDuel right now that I'll be rostering and are getting in there. Everyone else I really can't see playing, honestly.
I don't think Burks is a bad play at all, Dean. Like before all the news, he
Yeah.
was popping as chalk, and it's a price thing. I don't know what his upside is. I don't know what the rotation is going to be. I'm okay with Burks, but he's not a priority anymore. What do you think is a priority?
Well, he was
anymore?
popping as chalk because we put 33 minutes on him, and I'm not sure. I feel
Right.
confident he plays 33 minutes. That's my thing.
He's gonna play more than Kemba, but I don't
Yes, but there's a wiggle room between more than Kemba and 33.
know. Exactly.
But that's the part that concerns me. By the way, Andre, get excited. Claxton was ruled out. So if you were looking to play some,
And Sharp are the plays today. They have to play it. Well, and James Johnson.
yeah. I mean, they still can play those guys like each like 23, 24 minutes. And is that enough?
Steve Nash is I don't know how he's the coach of this team.
Well, he's just figuring. I think he just doesn't care, and like he's trying to figure what works for when like it actually matters.
But you need to figure it out now because you need to give these guys some type of like consistency. Like Blake in the rotation one day, out the rotation. He should never be out the rotation to begin with as a player, and I just don't know.
Well, Blake's also old and fragile, and like I think. I mean, I'm thinking the other way on that, but I don't know. Like, how much does he really care about winning this game? Actually, isn't Brooklyn like in the 7 spot?
They are in the play-in tournament, I think, as of right now. So they need to win.
And who knows what's going to happen with New York law, and we're not going to get into all that. But there's a chance they're hosting play-in games with Kyrie, and who knows? I mean, that stuff might change when the playoffs come around, but it could be a mess. And ideally, they'd rather be on the road.
Yeah, they better pray it changes because they're gonna need everybody they can get.
Hey, total sidebar, Dre. 1 month from today, the Nets are in Philly, so
Yeah, I'm going to the game.
clear your calendar.
I'll text you. We're definitely going to the game.
Dean, can you get like a Southwest flight and get up here? I'll pick you up.
I mean, I'm not right around the corner, man. But yeah, I've never been to Philly. I've taken some road trips for baseball and all that. I missed Philadelphia for whatever reason. Just didn't work geographically with us. But one of these days, I want to hit Philly up as well. Let's talk about the hammer that is Milwaukee and Phoenix. Big number as far as the total in this game. Well, yeah, 233.5. This is the back half of the TNT doubleheader. Milwaukee is a 3-point dog here. It is an island game for Milwaukee. This is one of the reasons why I like Giannis. ESPN, TNT game, national TV, a little bit extended as far as a little more time, an extra commercial or two, a little more rest in between timeouts. They did not play yesterday, and Milwaukee does not play again until Monday. So, you can let these guys go if you need to let them go. And again, I always 82 game season. It's a long season. This one just feels more important than the rest. I'm sure Phoenix is going to get up for it, and like Chris Paul and Booker and those guys are going to play, close to 40 minutes as well too, as they've been doing of late. Also, an island game for them as well. Don't play again until Friday. Didn't play yesterday. I'll throw this one to you, Andre. What side of this game you want to talk about? Talk about all of it, but the stars look really good. I like the Ayton price on DK as well at 6'6". It seems kind of cheap for his skill set. But like Giannis is awesome. You got to pay for him. But I'm definitely going to have some Giannis tonight.
Low key, probably the best tournament play of this slate is DeAndre Ayton. I'm not going to be able to get to him probably on FanDuel just because of the price. Maybe I might slide him in. I'm not sure yet, but he has we saw what he did last time in the last year in the NBA Finals against this team. He can have that upside, same upside, and probably more here against the Milwaukee Bucks, especially when they have a small front court. So I like DeAndre Ayton a lot. He's especially on DK, he'll be my favorite tournament player over there. I might get a little bit of him on FanDuel, not 100% sure yet. But I love everything about this game. It's the highest total on the slate. The game should be up and down, fast paced. It should be close. I love Devin Booker. He's probably one of my favorite spend up. Giannis is probably the best spend up today on the slate, and he's coming in at half the ownership of Luka. and have the ownership of Kyrie. It's amazing to me how no one's thinking about playing Giannis today. And I'll take the low ownership because when this guy goes for 70, because there's no one that's going to be able to stop this man. He's been on a mission ever since. He put up 81 fantasy points against the Lakers, and that game wasn't even close. He just did it because he wanted to. Giannis is just a different animal, a different level right now. He's probably my favorite spin up on the slate. Maybe the ownership might change now on him, but I love getting to him today. And running it back with like a guy like Devin Booker or Chris Paul, who I think is fantastic plays as well. Chris Middleton's a good GPP play as well, and so is Bobby Portis. I'm not going to probably get to Drew Holiday today, just for purposes of point guard being so deep today, but I love everyone else I mentioned.
Ownership wise on DK, the biggest number we're looking at is a Booker at 26%, Paul at 23%, and we're projecting 38 minutes for both. Giannis, we're projecting 34 and a hook, 34.5 minutes for Giannis. So what, 13, 14% ownership. Ayton at 6.6 tags, pretty positive, just 9%. On FanDuel, Booker at 27%, Paul at 24, Giannis 21, Bridges at 15, which I don't think I get there. He can get like 7 steals, I suppose. Like that's what he can do. And then Portis at 14%. What do you have here, Justin?
Yeah, I like Giannis. A tout show saying he likes Giannis. Real informative stuff, Luch. But I like the run back here, and I like Booker running back with Giannis. I like the hook. Usually we hate the hook in betting, but 34 and a half minutes every time he's played, 35 minutes or more. Look at the game log. Yeah, it's not rocket science, but he's hit 60 plus in 10 of 16 games where he's played at least 35 minutes. Shows you how damn good Luke has been, because you're like, wow, Giannis has a really good shot to hit 60 tonight. And then he opened up Luka's game log and he's hit 70 plus in 3 of the last 5, right? So, but I like the correlation here. If it's a good game environment, if you get overtime, I think Giannis is a good spot. And these are just median projections, right? Play the range of outcomes game here. The difference in ownership here for me is key for Giannis in tournaments opposed to Luka, if you're having the Luka-Giannis debate. So I like Giannis quite a bit tonight. I know you got a Giannis spiel lined up, so let's hear it.
Well, I just gave it. I just think national TV, extra time for commercials. It's a rematch of what was going on, the last year's finals. They don't play again until Monday. I think that's important to stress.
A lot of time for the family, right?
They didn't play yesterday. Yeah. Giannis got to hit that bell. I don't even know the reference for that one, but somebody in our projection team, by the way, was having a lot of fun. No other team are they giving hooks, like a 0.5 for minutes projection, but just Milwaukee. I don't know if that's a running joke, but it's 0.5 for a bunch of players. Maybe Tuttle's doing projections. I think that's his team today. Maybe it's a little bit of fun, but we do have a bunch of questions lined up for us. We're going to tackle the last 10 minutes of the show. And again, there's still time to submit it. Producer Steve will be pulling them. Devin's lurking as well too. Throw them in the Rotogrinders Discord, rotogrinders.com/Discord, and the live stream chat channel. Oh, and it's a free channel. If you guys aren't aware, you don't have to be premium members. There are some premium channels. That one is for everybody, just like the prop shop that Will runs. That is a free channel too. All right, some questions that we have for y'all. Flores Mark wants to know DK tournaments. I'll ask this to Justin. Justin, do you want the DK questions and Andre takes the FanDuel questions? Does that work for you guys?
That's a great idea.
All right, Justin, DK tournament. Can we power rank the Wizards not named Kuzma?
Yep. Okay, let me just bring them up here. Howell, number one value option on the slate on DK. That's where I'm going. Gonna play him on all 3 of my teams. Caldwell Pope, number 2. That one hurt a little bit. And man, I'm just having a hard time picking between both of these quote unquote bigs between Bryant and Rui. And I don't mind Denny either, but I'm going to take Kispert as my 3rd. And I think maybe he piggybacks off that high usage game we saw his last time out there. And we got him projected for 32 minutes, which is the 2nd most on the Wizards. So Neto, Howell, however you want to say it. I'm great with pronunciations if you've tuned into Grinderslive before. So he's number 1, KCP number 2, and Kispert 3 for me.
I'm sticking with you. DraftKings Lip wants to know tournament thoughts as far as Şengün and CP3, Chris Paul. So Şengün and Chris Paul, two different teams, obviously, but you have thoughts on either of those?
Yeah, I think they're both squarely in play. I think they're both good plays. I love the thought of running Chris Paul back with Giannis. I will be running either Chris Paul or Booker back with Giannis somewhere tonight for some significant investment for sure.
All right, Andre, FanDuel tournaments. If Hero doesn't play, I thought he was probable for what it's worth. He's probable, right?
Questionable now.
Oh, did I miss that? Okay, my bad.
It broke pretty late. We were talking about cheesesteaks or something, probably.
What's just kind of snuck in there when I was looking at the Claxton stuff. There's a whole bunch of stuff for tomorrow, so it kind of threw me off. Yeah, there it is. Okay, so Andre, if Hero doesn't play, thoughts on a game stack with Ingram, Bam, and Butler?
Oh yeah, definitely. I already said if I'm running anyone, if I'm playing anyone from Miami, I'm running it back. Same thing with the New Orleans side, running it back with someone from the opposite side. And also, side note, Brooklyn only has 10 bodies tonight. Tajay Sharp played 24 minutes, which I think is the most minutes he's ever played. Last game against Boston. I don't know if he does the same thing tonight. He played 15 against Washington the last time though and had a good game. So I don't know.
Do all 10 play? Like is Duke and Carter in the rotation? They're gonna play all 10 anyway, right? I think.
I would assume so.
Yeah, Carter 12 minutes projection. We have 27 for Brown, 24 for. That's the thing is like there's a bunch of guys like in the teens and the 20s.
You just never know. That's the one that scares me because I think the only person that really scares me a lot from this whole thing is probably Bruce Brown. I don't know how many minutes he's going to play. I don't know if Sharp played a lot of minutes just because they had everyone out last game. That could be a reason too. The minutes might get bumped a little bit down now since they're thin on bodies. I don't know because they, like I said, go to James Johnson as well, who I definitely like today in tournaments.
Like if Brown's not starting, I'm scared. I'm scared of playing him.
Oh yeah, I'm not playing him if he's not starting.
But he might start. And that's the thing. Like we have nobody projected. We have Mills for 31 and Kyrie for 38. But beyond that, nobody projected for more than 28 minutes. They're just dispersed. And it's fragile. And there's Nash reasons as to who gets what. And it's just hard to predict. All right. Let's see. Back to DK tournaments. The D-Rock wants to know, Justin, this is tough. Kyrie, Luka, Giannis, Booker, Paul. Like prioritize those 5 guys. Like who do you really, really want? You can't get them all, obviously, salary cap reasons. Kyrie, Luka, Giannis, and the 2 sons, Booker and Paul.
Okay, so I'm playing a son with Giannis. Personally, in my builds, that's the way I'm attacking this. Luka's fantastic. We haven't projected at 28% ownership. I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with him, but he's the safest. Luka is the safest. Kyrie, more expensive on DK. Think he's a really good play. But I think we should also throw Siakam in that mix too, because I just think it's a fantastic spot without Fred VanVleet. And we talked about Toronto in the beginning of the show, so anybody tuning in late, great game environment. If this thing stays close, Siakam, Trent, I like OG a lot. I know we're talking studs here, but I really want to throw Siakam into that conversation. And maybe we're still not comfortable doing that, but with Nick Nurse's new rotation and all the minutes, Siakam's been a stud. He deserves that price tag. So I want to throw him into that mix too.
Andre, FanDuel thoughts as far as not cheap, but relatively low-owned Mikal Bridges.
I like him today. He's someone I would roster. He's a good tournament play for sure. 6.1K. I like his price.
They're throwing him on Giannis. Does he cover Giannis?
Yeah,
that makes sense, right?
Yeah, him and Crowder is going to be on Giannis for sure.
All right. I like Bobby Portis tonight. Am I drunk? I'm reading Lip's question. He's fine.
Good. He's a good play. Good GPP play.
Let's see. DK tournaments. Thoughts on McGee at 4.2K? He's been crushing off the bench. He has, but he still only plays like 18 to 20 minutes or so. And he's traditionally a good fantasy point minute player, but he's got to make the most every one of those minutes. I don't know, Justin. 4.2K on DK for JaVale.
I'm not doing it, but large field tournament, you want to throw a dart? Okay. I wouldn't pair him with Giannis though, because you want Giannis playing the entire game on this slate, so just make sure you don't play those two together.
Well, we don't play him with Ayton either, I would assume. Like if you're
right.
doing, maybe you're.
And we're anticipating blowout here, but if you're playing McGee, so don't play him with a Bucks starter or Ayton.
This is a DK question, but I want to ask Andre. It's DK tournaments: PJ Tucker or Kemba Walker.
Hey, just give me PJ Tucker all day, every day. Right, you rolling.
You want your 20 points and that's it.
Yes, I want 20 points to go all day. I don't know. I do not know what Kevin might give me.
Yeah. Justin, do you have any player props today you like? Either one of you guys write something up for scores and odds? I'll let Justin go first.
I didn't, but we have a lot on there today. Grant has a ton. A lot of our experts have a ton. Our prop model's been amazing on scores and odds since its origin, since the new year. It's up many units, so definitely check out scores and odds. And Grant just started doing a live show for us in the afternoons with his picks, and I'm sure he's talked about that on here. So if you're into props, definitely check out the shows Grant's doing, and check out Chiefs Prop Shop. I think you were probably going to go there, Dean, right, for some prop info.
Well, no, I was pulling up scores and odds, and I want to see if Andre had anything on there either. But it is worth mentioning. I wanted to mention it because I'm going to be on tomorrow. I'm making an appearance tomorrow with Grant at 2:00 on the East Coast. He asked me to join him. So 2:00 on the old YouTube. Make sure you guys check it out. Grant's Scores and Odds show. Andre, do you have anything as far as player props you like today? Of course, you're in New York. You can have at it. You can enjoy yourself. You can bet whatever you want.
Yeah, I've been putting together some crazy parlays the past couple of days. I'm gonna probably get back to writing up some stuff after the Super Bowl, just trying to hone in on who I think is gonna win. I'll probably be writing up tomorrow or Saturday. My favorite prop of the night, probably, I do like the over on points for Giannis. I think that's a good bet to take today. And also there was one that was actually very very good that I looked up. It was 3-pointers. Who's a 3-pointer guy? Kyrie Irving over 2.5 threes. Just lock it in.
Lightning round. Let's knock out these last few questions. And A. Burton, you asked that question. Jump in the prop shop. It's right above. It's right above it, and they're talking props and all sorts of things, prize picks or just like player props and underdog, whatever. They're at it and all sorts of things. Will's in there. Lots of sharp people are in there. So and again, that's not a non-premium channel, so feel free to join. Everybody's friendly. All right, let's speed this up. I can't believe it. No Taj Gibson love. Is that a troll? I feel like that's a troll question. We always get Taj Gibson questions.
That's a big question of the all. No.
Maybe if Mitrov and Noel don't play, but even then, your favorite game stack. What do you have for me, Andre?
It's tough. It's either the Nets and Washington or Milwaukee and the Suns.
I like both those answers. Justin?
I like both those answers.
I think Toronto Houston's like the next one. I think.
I don't think
one is that Miami game. That's a sneaky one.
Yeah, if Hero doesn't play, you need Hero not to play.
No, because you can still play Jimmy, and you can still play Jimmy or Bam. I mean Jimmy or Kyle and get away with it. I think.
I think Toronto is a cool team stack. I don't know if you need to force a run back, and we're kind of like maybe Sengun, one of those guys. But without Van Fleet, and if the game's fairly close and the 35+ minutes, all the starters are seating. I don't know if you need a run back from Houston, but love Toronto exposure for sure.
Andre, for tournaments, you like Şengün or you like Sharp? You've talked about Sharp a couple times.
I'm gonna say Şengün just because of minutes. But Sharp Sharp is an excellent play. I would just check for the starting lineup. If Sharp is in the starting lineup, play him, I think, over Şengün.
Andre, FanDuel large field tournaments. Who is your favorite? What's your player pool as far as centers? Do you happen to have it in front of you by chance?
Yeah, I do, because I was working on it right now. This is as of right now, subject to change. Jaren Jackson, Jonas Valanciunas, Mitchell Robinson, Bobby Portis, Blake Griffin, Şengün, Thomas Bryant, and Kelly Olynyk.
Back to the well on Siakam, or maybe go Trent Jr. Those are two different price points, but they're both good plays.
I would play them both. They are both excellent plays today.
I'll have many Raptors places. I don't know exactly where yet, but yeah.
Last one before we step aside and make way for crunch time. Do appreciate y'all joining the conversation in the Discord channel. Sometimes we give away free premium, usually Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So come back tomorrow night. Usually we'll give away 1 week free of RG Premium, all the sports. DK tournaments, Jeremy Grant, is he still in play? I think he's a better price on FanDuel, but you're asking about DK specifically as far as Grant. What do you have, Justin?
I won't have him, but yeah, he's fairly priced. Just hasn't been great since he's been back. But you take Cunningham out of the equation, you take Trey Lyles, who matters to some degree, out of the equation. I totally understand it, but a much better price on fans. Like, I'd much rather pay 52 for him than 61. He has much less of a chance of busting at 52 than 61. So I won't have him, but I get it.
Andre, who's breaking the slate?
I really don't know. It's tough. I'm gonna say Giannis Antetokounmpo.
There it is. Justin?
OG.
There it is. I like it. All right. Appreciate y'all watching. Do hit that like button your way out. It helps us out with the algorithm, the channel, all that good stuff. Keeps the proverbial lights on. Thanks to producer Steve. Thanks to Justin. Thanks to Andre. I was Dean. That was basketball. We're out of here. Holler.